O hidden light, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Om Sham. Brothers and sisters, we welcome you all in the Saturday evening meeting of Shankar Lodge, Delhi, this 17th July 2021. It's a matter of great pleasure that virtual meeting of our Shankar Lodge, Delhi has completed 1 year. As web meeting, virtual meeting of Shankar Lodge, Delhi was started on 18th July 2020. Further, we are truly privileged that on this occasion of completion of 1 year of virtual meeting of Shankar Lodge, Delhi, Professor Shinde has consented for sharing his talk on first object of the Theosophical Society is philanthropy. As regards Professor Shinde, he is a retired zoology professor who worked at Sangli and Pune for 37 years. He is author of 10 textbooks in zoology for undergraduate classes. Further, he has been a life member of Theosophical Society and rendering his services to TS since 1975. He has conducted seminars, schools of wisdom, workers training camp, study classes at various places throughout India as a national lecturer of Indian section. His many articles are published in the Theosophist, Wake Up India, Theosophical Digest, the Indian Theosophist, and many other Federation journals. He has given many short talks and participated in international symposia during convention at Adyar. He has also compiled the Watchtower articles of Mrs. Radha Bernier, which is published as book titled The World Around Us. Now, he is a resident of Adyar for a long time as the librarian of the Adyar Library and Research Center and secretary of Olcott Memorial High School, and also participating in various activities at the Adyar. He is also GC member and EC member also. Further, he is international speaker who has visited Sri Lanka and Crotona. So we are again saying, Brother Shinde, that he should talk to us today on this occasion. And without taking any more time, I now request Brother Shinde to please share his thought on the first object of Theosophical Society, which is philanthropy. Brother Shinde.
Thank you. Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Good evening, brothers and sisters. And thanks to Brother R.K. Mathur for inviting me once again to address the Delhi Theosophical Federation Shankar Lodge. The topic that has been selected long back, that the first object of the Theosophical Society, which is in true sense a philanthropy. So when we read the first object, especially when it is worded, you can look into those words to form a nucleus. To form a nucleus of the universal brotherhood of humanity. So this nucleus of universal brotherhood of humanity has got certain characteristic features, and those are, they have no any kind of distinction, race, creed, sex, caste, or color. So when we look into these words, any distinctions, even it has got no race like this, but race is by virtue of which we biologically belong to the race. But beyond biological, beyond physical, there is also emotional. Okay, we can accept by race, maybe we are satisfied there. But what about mind, intellect, and spirit? Does race satisfies those demands of mind, intellect, and spirit? Emotionally, we may accept and we may belong biologically, but it goes very difficult to intellectualize to our mind and to our spirit as well. So this is why when we think of race, in the same manner, when we think of caste, of course, caste is the subgroup to which you belong by the definition of the past, which must have served humanity and it must have served well the needs of the community. But tell me today, in what way obsession to our caste? Is it going to help except for being mad about the caste? So caste is no doubt subgroup to which we belong by definition of the past, and it must have served well the needs of community. But today, obsession of caste is not going to help. Otherwise, it makes us a bad about the caste. Then think of the creed. Creed is a further subdivision from the caste and definitely beautifully designed. It was designed once upon a time. But are they really mattering now? Is it not better to spend time on humanity, on divinity, more than religious, race, caste, creed, limitations? That is what we must focus our attention in the present time when we think of the first object of the Theosophical Society. Think of nationality also. Nationality is a human construction of boundaries with the support of nature, because there are geological and differences are there, no doubt. But these are all man-made. Nationality boundaries are man-made. And therefore, is it not this is a sheer reflection of human physical, emotional, intellectual might? So might is right. So this is definitely the reflection of our physical, emotional, intellectual might. We have shown our power, we have shown our dominance, and we have divided nations. Boundaries we have decided. But where is the spirituality in might? Especially in the definition and formation of nation. This needs to be intellectualized. This needs to be the nature of our actualization, why these words are used, how important these words are in this first object. The first object is very important. Because of this first object, we all become the members of the Theosophical Society. So this actualization, intellectualization is also the sweet word, but together with our positive collective consciousness, we can get into the path of actualization, get into the path of self-culture, get into the path of self-realization, and it is only then with such awareness to form the nucleus of universal brotherhood, keeping as the background of our mind that one life, one consciousness, all this is no doubt needed. When we come to the faith, faith is for those who actually want to conclude that this is the end of the story. But life is actually unlimited. Consciousness, it is an unlimited consciousness, it can expand. But there are definite milestones of clear knowledge. And that is what the first great truth of the Theosophical Society is. Soul of man is immortal and its growth and splendor has no limit. When we look at this first object of the Theosophical Society wordings, we must think of this and actually go deep into this. And it is therefore, we have a mission to serve humanity by cultivating an ever deepening understanding and realization of the ageless wisdom. So we study the ageless wisdom. It is not that the wise one have told us, they have told in the form of Veda, and Veda is the knowledge, no doubt. They have told the wisdom, but how many of us go deep into understanding those truths and find out the truth? So realization of ageless wisdom and deeper understanding leads to spiritual transformation, and also we realize the unity of all life. This all, but in Vedas are we actually not to criticize whatever is told by the great ones, told by the priests, told by the wise ones in the scriptures. We must try to look in the light of theosophy. Our attitude needs to be understanding. We know there are 4 kinds of classification, like Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. It is not good to brush them aside without intellectualizing them, without understanding them, without finding the truth behind them. Why not we can compare with our human anatomy? As a human being, our in one of my meditational notes, I send the triangle in which man is standing, and feet are compared with the Kshudra, thighs are compared with the Vaishya, arms are compared with the Kshatriya, and mouth is compared with the Brahmins. So if you look from the down to up or up to down, so the mouth compared to the Brahmins means the wise persons, priests, academicians, those who have realized and they have authority to give knowledge to the humanity. And therefore, mouth is compared to the Brahmins means we are given the gift of speech, gift of language, and we can make use of that language in spreading the wisdom. What you know, let the others know by the ability to convey that knowledge through language and speech. Language may be different, but we can convey this wisdom to the others. And this is the work of real Brahmins and priests, real academicians, so many universities, etc., they are working at this level. So the human speech, language is considered to that compared to the Brahmins. Then arms are there which are made free. Previously we were having quadrupedal, like four legs walking on the ground. But now the arms are made free to help the others, to serve the others, live for the others. So the arms are meant for protection. So these are compared with the Kshatriya, warriors or kings. They are meant to protect the needs, interests of all the humanity. And they are really the helpers or warriors or kings. Then thigh, if you look into the thigh, human thigh are very important. If the circulation in the thigh, if you are daily walking and exercising, if you are keeping your thighs really healthy, strong, then the whole business of circulation in the human body is always healthy. So the thighs are compared with the Vaishyas, business community. So this is what it is compared. And finally the feet. Feet are after all on the ground level. They are compared with the servants, subordinate to Vaishya and Kshatriya, and also Brahmins, because all these upper classes, they need workers. All the boss in the department, they need workers. Without workers, they can't do anything. So when we rise to our higher consciousness, we need all these to be grounded, and there are people or there are stages of consciousness. And if you look to these divisions in terms of consciousness, then perhaps we may understand more. We cannot condemn the others because he is not able to speak, because he is not able to do with full ability to our expectations. So once we understand that a person, a Brahmin, which means his consciousness is definitely, predominantly operating between, we can say, Vijnanamaya Kosha and Anandamaya Kosha. So in what we say in puja, Bharat Samaj puja, we say Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya me Shuddhantam. So we want to purify this consciousness up to the level of Anandamaya. So the Anandamaya Kosha is the bliss sheath. It is, and the Vijnanamaya Kosha is the intellectual sheath. So the persons whose consciousness is in between these two layers, Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya, in between Nirguna and Sattva Guna, then that person is said to be a Brahmin. So we must raise our consciousness. We must raise our consciousness to this stage of Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya. And Kshatriya's consciousness is predominantly operating between intellectual sheath and Manomaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha. So this operating consciousness of Kshatriya is between Sattva Guna and Rajoguna. And when we come to a person Vaishya, his consciousness is working in the Pranamaya Kosha and Manomaya Kosha. That means he is working consciousness lies between Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And finally, person who is a Shudra, his consciousness is within that Pranamaya, vital seat, and food seat, Annamaya and Pranamaya. Operating consciousness lies mostly in control of Tamoguna or Yugo. So such persons are there. There are stages of the consciousness. There is possibility of expansion of consciousness, rising of consciousness from Annamaya, Pranamaya to Manomaya to form Vaishya, then Manomaya to Vijnanamaya is Kshatriya, then Vijnanamaya to Anandamaya is the Brahmina. So when we say Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, Me Shuddhantam, Jyotira. Jyotira means seek the light within, because guidance comes from the within. Unless we rise to this level of Anandamaya and Vijnanamaya, how can we expect to get that light of one life, one consciousness, and the universal brotherhood? This is what a proper preparation, proper purification is required. And once we understand this, then how this is related, we can do this. Work is worship, we can do from Karma Yoga. So the first object is to form the nucleus of universal brotherhood without any distinction. And philanthropy, as my topic is, the first object is in true sense a philanthropy. We need to understand the word philanthropy also. There are many synonymous words for philanthropy, like humanity and humanitarianism, altruism, what we call paropakara, or love of mankind, goodwill to all mankind. This also means large-heartedness, public spiritedness, public charity, alms given, dana. So philanthropist is one who has all these qualities. And once master said, theosophist is a philanthropist. We can become the member of the TS, but to be philanthropist means to be the actual nucleus, to be that center which radiates love, service to humanity, and the person to inculcate the art of loving and art of living. So theosophy is both an art of living and loving. So we are asked to live to love. So once we understand this, then for inculcating this art of living and loving, humanity has already received wisdom through religions, philosophy, science, but unfortunately, I am sorry to say, despite of the so many gurukulas, so many old universities, which have produced so many leaders to lead humanity, but still we must think seriously why we have failed miserably to stop corruption, poverty, immorality, terrorism. Why are we facing challenges like pollution, global warming, crimes against women, even war, etc.? We are thinking of wars, but we are not daring to do wars now because we have become that much wise now, not to do any war as such, because it destroys the whole life on the earth. which means we don't know, rather don't want to live really with clean life, open mind and pure heart. As HPB mentioned these 3 steps in her golden steps. If we live with these 3 steps, we can inculcate attitude of brotherhood, attitude of sharing and caring, which is the only solution to serve humanity. And this is the art of living and also the art of loving, which also means to form the nucleus of universal brotherhood. Our living should be a need-based living and not a greed-based living. And already we are more greed-based rather than need-based, which needs to be accepted first. Acceptance of this is the first step. Perhaps it would be a last step to form the nucleus of universal brotherhood. For that, we must be very clear about what are our needs, what are our wants. Needs are different from the wants. Needs are essential for living, but wants are mostly psychological and they are meant for pleasure. So I need not explain this more. We know well the difference between wants and needs. So what I want to focus here, altruistic attitude needs to be developed, and that will be developed only when we begin to truly follow the law of sacrifice and begin to live the life of service and sacrifice. We may learn to look at the nature, how this law of sacrifice is working. The life in the mineral kingdom evolved by law of sacrifice as the mineral forms break themselves and nourish plants. So mineral forms, they break themselves and nourish plant. This is also a sacrifice and service. They did that service in mineral kingdom, and therefore life evolved from mineral kingdom to vegetable kingdom. Then the life in the vegetable kingdom evolved by the sacrifice of lower plants to nourish the higher plants. And such countless annual plants perish to enrich the soil in which the big trees they grow. So here also we see in nature the law of sacrifice and service. Then coming to the life in the animal kingdom, that also evolves by the sacrifice again of the lower forms to the higher, and also to maintain of the human kingdom. If we really intellectualize this, then why man should refuse to sacrifice for the others? It is a clear message of the nature. Live the life of service and sacrifice and begin yourself loving the nature. So to serve humanity, as I said, is the mission of our Theosophical Society. And to serve, we need to have energy. We need to have knowledge of energy management. That needs to be the part of our self-culture. We do have physical energy, emotional energy, mental energy, and spiritual energy. To enhance of all these energies is nothing but to activate our potential energy centers. They are within our body, not by any force as such like Hatha Yoga, but through Jnana Yoga. Theosophy is a Jnana Yoga. We should not be blind. Rather, we should not be blind believers also. But with our own self-discovery, self-observation, we can stop the wastage of energies. Because we waste a lot of energy, but if we have right knowledge, not ajnana, not ignorant, then we can definitely conserve the energy. What enhances our physical energy? Perhaps we will be able to conserve our energy. If we really understand what enhances our physical energy, then we can conserve our physical energy. Is it not nutritious food, abundant water intake, exposition to sunlight, morning and evening, during sunrise and sunset, plenty of sleep and exercise, warm baths, even hugs to plants, animals. So message is to conserve our physical energy, think over these very seriously. Then next comes, before that we must need 3 simple principles remembered when we think of the waste of energy. Let us remember our thoughts affect our emotions, and our emotions affect our decisions, and our decision affect our life. So these all are connected. We are wasting our emotional energy, thought energy, and also decisive energy. So to take right decision, we should have right direction to our thoughts, using emotional energy to achieve efficiency in our action. This is the principle to conserve energies or to management of energy. So to conserve emotional and mental energy, self-culture which is needed, then 6 points we can I would like to put before you to conserve emotional and mental energy. Number 1, we must read and listen inspirational talks, some tapes which are available now on YouTube. We can listen to them carefully, seriously. They are available at our home now. At any time we can do this. So this is the first point. Either read or listen to such inspirational talks and tapes. Second point, we must spend some time with our friends and families, developing a habit of positiveness. Of course, friends and family members needs to be positive. Select them and spend some time with such people. Then third, we must have adequate savings for our maintenance, and also we must have knowledge of reasonable level of spending. This is to develop nurturing positive relationship. With money, we can develop positive relationship. And even when we think of maintaining our inner, the fourth is maintaining our inner environment and outer surrounding, keeping it clean and well organized and balanced. It can happen when we learn to help others selflessly. And fifth, which also includes facing old conflicts and discovering ways to resolve them, trying to be ethical always. And the last one, don't be caught in the schedule, but keep some free time to develop wholesome philosophy of life. So all these 6 points. Number 1, helps to remove the cause of unhappiness. Number 2, develops the habit of positiveness. Number 3, helps to nurturing the positive relationship. And number 4, learn to help others selflessly. That happens only when we keep our inner and outer surroundings clean. And number 5, trying to be ethical always. And number 6, to develop wholesome philosophy of life. All such precautions definitely enhance our emotional and mental energy. And to have this kind of jnana, because our yoga is jnana yoga, is definitely essential. So don't waste your energy in chattering, gossiping, or talking. All this has been told many times repeatedly. So these are the 6 ingredients for a happier life, for a altruistic life, life of paropakara or philanthropy, whatever you may call it, but we relate it to the forming the nucleus of universal brotherhood. Then comes the enhancing the spiritual energy. How can we enhance? In the beginning only I said, we can raise ourselves to the spiritual level to enhance our spiritual energy, saying only what we believe to be truth. Doing everything within love or with love, saying thanks and expressing gratitude. Energy flows as per our where we focus our attention. And whether we focus our attention on our needs or on our wants need to be checked. Focusing on what you have rather than focusing on what we don't have. This is the nature of the human mind. Human mind always focuses on that which it doesn't have. And therefore, these 2 factors, 2 energies which are very harming. One is the energy of comparison and second the energy of competition. So these 2 energies are harming to humanity because human mind is habituated to focus only on what it doesn't have. So what we have to do, direct that mind to focus on what we have. Then it is better to listen rather than to boast. Listening conserves energy, and that conserved energy is getting directed towards listening to our inner guidance also. This is possible spending some time alone with trees, with your terrace garden, having fun with children, praying, listening to music, meditating, etc., etc. These are all practical hints. These are simple things, but our conditioned mind is not ready to get tamed, but we must do it anyway. When we say theosophy is art of living or life is relationship, then let us ask to ourselves, are we thinking with our old parents lovingly and respectfully? Are we talking with our old parents lovingly and respectfully? Are we talking with family members, wife, brother, sister, child, affectionately? All these needs to be related. When we say life is relationship, one can develop theosophical attitude, but attitude of philanthropy attitude of brotherhood, C.W. Leadbeater told, it will not develop easily. It takes many years and all kinds of efforts may lead to develop such kind of attitude. Because this is art of living and loving that requires creative ability, motivational energy, and it is only then altruistic attitude will be developed. Because our instinctive mind is definitely a beautiful servant, but we must keep it as the servant and not our master. If it becomes our master, then it is dangerous. So God has given us both instinctive mind and intuitive mind. We are serving our servant and not our God gift, that is intuitive mind. So that is why HPP said, mind is the slayer of the real. Slay the slayer means this instinctive mind, this lunar body needs to be tamed or paralyzed, or that is what it must become subordinate to us. So when we say about the creative ability is, what is this srujanashilata, creativeness? This is actually the purushartha. In Sanskrit, we call it as the purushartha. And in ancient wisdom or Sanatana Dharma, we know these purusharthas. So this creative ability is to know what we are capable to do, what kind of power we have, and that kind of Shakti is important. And that requires ability to do, requires motivational force from heart and mind. How much you get that motivational force, and that determines what you do actually. Then the altruistic attitude really determines how well you do that work. So to bring spiritual self-transformation, which is nothing but in Sanskrit, we may call it as the mukti. See, so altruistic attitude is yukti, and motivational force, heart and mind is really bhakti, and physical, that creative ability is Shakti. So Shakti, Bhakti, Yukti, Mukti, all these are words we know well. How we can relate to theosophical language and try to understand and intellectualize how these energies can be used. So try to bring change in your ability by raising yourself to subtler consciousness and know your potentialities. Then use the motivational force of heart and mind, meditate in the heart, and let all desires get transferred into aspirations. The aspiration is offering. Giving is different from the offering. And it is then develops real brotherhood attitude or altruistic attitude. So as we all aware, traditionally, there are 4 primary aims of human life, like artha, kama, dharma, moksha, all these 4 aims of human life. What is this dharma? What is this artha? What is this kama and moksha? How can we relate this ancient teaching? Dharma, that includes moral aspect, that includes aspect of our conduct. And as HPB said, dharma is duty, duty is due to humanity. We have come here to do our Swadharma in the light of Theosophy. That is Dharma. That includes moral and social conduct. That is duty. Then Artha. Artha is acquisition of wealth. It is necessary. But it is more concerned with the heart. Heart means our heart needs to be really loving heart. Only then we can acquire the wealth and that can be used properly. Kama relates to the body. That is actually transformation needs to be in the body, fulfilling one's desires and aspirations. And moksha related to soul, spiritual, self-transformation. So mind, heart, body, soul. These all are related to this. Mind related to dharma, heart related to artha, body related to the kama, and soul related to the moksha. So if we understand all are equally important, they should not be seen in isolation. If these are not achieved, then how can be human miseries diminished is the question at our disposal. So in the light of Theosophy or in the light of Prajna, these four are directly connected with our mind, heart, body, and soul. Soul is the source of our spiritual energy, Atma Shakti. The other are Jnana Shakti and Bhakti Shakti. So let us remember, man is endowed with three things: mind to think, analyze, and decide; heart to feel and harmonize; and body is meant for action. So if we are able to synchronize our body, heart, and mind by our disciplined living with the, or we can say, theosophical life, as stated by Dr. Annie Besant, with awareness of laws of higher life, it is only then perhaps one may appeal to his deeper and higher feelings. He may appeal to his insight and intuitive capacity. He may begin to listen voice of his conscience. Otherwise, it is our conscience is sleeping. It is such awareness, it is such awakening to our soul and spirit. One can realize spiritual kinship, and sense of separation begins to dissolve gradually. Separateness is the heresy, said HPB. It is a false gospel. Heresy means a false gospel. Separateness is brittle. It is not true. It is false. We all are caught in this heresy. And HPB said, described it as the giant weed of self. So giant weed of self, it needs to be rooted out completely. Only pruning is not enough. We must root it out. I think it is important to relate theosophical teaching by deepening our understanding and this ageless wisdom, beginning with this Sanatana Dharma, what it is said. So to learn the art of living and loving, we must train our mind to be open, active, not closed, conditioned, and dull by ignorance. Training of mind is our duty, is our purushartha, is our dharma. Let the mind be positive and service-minded. Mature mind is, in real sense, a new mind. And such mind knows the difference between giving and offering. Mind must be determined to offer service to the masters of the wisdom or humanity, you can say. Offering is different from giving help. Offering our free will to the one will, offering our earthly life to the one life, offering our little self to the one big self. For this, we must train our mind and try to invoke daily. If we invoke together, that may help. Collective consciousness makes much difference. We must invoke, may my will be His will, may my life be my evolutionary way, may myself be on the path of return. Such attitude is nothing but the Ishvara Pranidhanani, as Patanjali says, complete surrender to such life, way and life. So mind should ready to surrender to God within. Then perhaps effortlessly or effortless effort, His love purifies our heart. His joy will express in all our trials and tests, because it is only then all trials make us more and more strong. All failures make us more and more humble. All sorrows make us a real human and not a man. So sorrow of COVID pandemic definitely has made us, it stirred our consciousness, made us today more human, is a fact that we see. We are all together thinking and acting to free humanity from such misery with all our sources internationally. So the Purushartha, economic value of something cannot be fully understood unless the correct moral value is realized. It is related to our love aspect of our higher self. So it gives more value to relations rather than man. Love embraces all in oneness, so it develops belonging consciousness. That is the Purushartha, and also self-esteem consciousness. Love aspect raises himself. So we are therefore advised to meditate in heart and make our heart pure with motiveless desires and aspirations. This is the real wealth. When we say Artha, this is the Artha. Artha is Purushartha as per our traditional teaching. This heart must be with love. Then the next Purushartha is Kama. This is the vital value, more concerned with clean life. Kama means fulfilling the needs of bodies. So Kama Manasa is desire mind, always attracted towards body pleasures, sensual pleasures, suffering with the results of pains. So Purushartha here needs to converting desires, all desires needs to be converted into aspirations. Doing correct actions, that is essential. Otherwise, life is wasted in illusory pleasures. That is what we are doing in general. So Dharma, Artha, Kama, we are discussing, or we are relating them as mind to heart to body, Purushartha, creativeness in human form. As I said earlier, our journey is from mental to emotion to body. The theosophical teaching is from higher to the lower. We are getting knowledge first, then we are controlling our emotions, then that we are bringing in our actions. So our way is from higher to lower, because we know if we change our thoughts, then our emotional force will not disturb us. And it is therefore at the feet of the master, one of the adepts said, if your thought is what it should be, then you will have little difficulty in your action. So let us remember these principles. Body needs food energy. Actually, body needs food energy. Heart needs love energy. And mind needs energy of silence. And soul needs freedom from limitations. See, when we are living with the needs, need-based living means we must understand from the spiritual point of view. So body needs food energy, heart needs love energy, bhakti, mind needs energy of silence, and soul needs freedom from limitations. Soul is longing for this, life after life. So try to understand these, which are the real needs of human who wants to treat the path. And universal brotherhood is the foundation. When we say soul needs moksha, mukti, so that is the last purushartha of eternal values, spiritual self-transformation we speak about. It is the ultimate destiny which everyone has to reach one day. It also means merging of individual soul into universal soul. It also means liberation. Liberation of what? Liberation from attachment. So moksha or mukti means liberation, detachment, free will, independence. All these terms can be applied to this moksha. But it is possible only if one practices the dharma, artha and kama. So dharma, artha, kama, if we practice these, then only there is possibility of mukti. This is what our traditional teaching, Vedic wisdom given to us. So human eager intellect, as said in the Golden Stairs, human eager intellect is directly proportional to, number one, to the understanding of moral values, that is dharma. Second, understanding of other aims of artha and kama, and with eager intellect, they get improved automatically and effortlessly. We then turn gradually from greed-based to need-based living. This is not so easy, but we have to practice daily. So we begin to understand clearly real needs of body, heart, and mind, and begin to calm them. And when we calm them, they open our way to higher mind, which is a subjective nature. As I said, desire is the need of body, love is the need of heart, morality is the need of mind, and moksha is the need of soul. So unless, as I said, desire is the need of body, then what kind of food you must take? That affects your desires. And bhakti, it is like Shakti, Bhakti, Yukti, Mukti, all these four are related to this. Unless man has a soul, not man as a soul and not as a body, really understand the hidden potentials, really investigates the human potential, he cannot even enjoy his work or duty, his wealth and joy and beauty of nature as well. So this actualization, this understanding is essential. So let be the aim of body is to attain health and welfare. Aim of heart is to attain human values of love and compassion. Aim of mind is to realize its contribution to and responsibility. It is only then one is continuous, contributing his thought, energy in common ground of human consciousness, which is one. You may also connect with the ancient wisdom teaching, ageless wisdom, like these four Vedas. Atharvaveda consciousness is about health and welfare of all. Yajurveda consciousness benefiting at all levels from boss to workers. Samaveda consciousness brings understanding, equality, oneness of life, and Rigveda bringing that divine willpower to bring in action. So spiritual self-transformation, four levels of divine mind consciousness begins to work at different level. Artha as sadhaka, artharthi as aspirant, jidnyasu as inquirer, and jnani as wisdom. So when we relate all these ancient wisdom to our theosophy, we don't find any difficulty in understanding the truth. So live need-based living. God has given us strength to face the situation. Brain and intellect given us to solve puzzles of life. He has given us the inbuilt happiness, which we may convince looking around where there is lot of unhappiness is spread. When we look around the unhappiness surrounding us, then we see how happy we are comparing with them. Even wealth God has given to us if we know how to work hard. So God shows favor also by giving opportunity to work hard. He also gives peace if we work for others. Although God, He has given me everything that I wanted, but my greedy nature makes me weak, dull, unhappy, poor, sorrow. So look at your greed and see how it changes. Discover it yourself is the message. So with this, I don't want to, it is time, I think 1 hour I have spoke. And thank you, Mathurji. A lot of things can be told. If anybody wants to say something, they can add in it. But our aim is to form the nucleus of universal brotherhood and philanthropy, philanthropic attitude, paropakara needs to be our attitude. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Only thing my difficulty is, I used my mobile this time. Laptop did not work. I don't know Google Meet, whether it is there or not. Something I have to check. I don't know how far it is reached to you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Brother, it has reached to us very well. Thank you, Brother Shindeji. You have very beautifully explained the philanthropy in the light of first object of theosophy. Now, anybody want to share something or he wants to say something, please do. Anybody who wants to share something or want to ask something with Brother Shindeji?
I'm Abhat Patel.
Yes.
I'm from Blavatsky Lodge, Bombay.
Yes, please.
नमस्कार शिंदे जी,
नमस्ते
आप
नमस्ते आभा पटेल जी, नमस्ते।
कैसे हैं आप?
मैं
बहुत
ठीक
अच्छा
हूँ,
आपका टॉक बहुत अच्छी तरह से सुना, and I'm very happy that I joined it today. Somehow or the other I could make it.
Wonderful.
I want to say one thing about philanthropy.
Okay.
With your permission, may I say a few words about
yes,
it?
Yes, do say.
It is your saying only, but I'm putting in my own way.
Okay.
Philanthropy is selfless service. It should be selfless service without any motive. and it should be for the welfare of the humanity at large. This is what our Theosophists have been doing, our TOS is doing, Theosophical Order of Service. They are also doing the same thing, but to do their work well, we individually have to part with some part of our own wealth or our own earnings. And I, being a Parsi, we have a lot of charities for not only for our community, but for all communities of India. And Gandhi ji, I will quote exactly what Mahatma Gandhi had said once. Parsis in numbers are beneath contempt. Parsis in numbers are beneath contempt, but in charity, beyond compare.
Yeah.
This is what he had said. And I am proud to say that I belong to that community where we do, because from our very childhood we are said, Sukh jene, jenathi sukh bijane. People will become happy not because they are getting it, but because we are giving. When we are giving them, they are giving us opportunity to do the service and to be philanthropic. Thank you very much. This is
Very
what
good,
I have.
Aban. The Parsi people have given us vaccine also.
Yeah. That is what Gandhi ji had said, because at the time of independence, Jamshedji Tata and all those people, they had opened up their heart and given him as much blank checks, sort of, you know. So at that time, he had not only Jamshedji Tata, many others, you know, from Gujarat and from Bombay and all those places. So he said, in number beneath contempt, but in charity beyond compare. And we hope that we can continue to do that. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Amanji. Thank you. Anybody who want to share something or want to say something, please. If we have nothing to share, let's close
हेलो
meeting.
हेलो हेलो माथुर जी,
शिंदे जी बोल। हेलो लोखंडे जी बताइए।
हाँ, शिंदे सर का आज का जो लेक्चर है वो हर एक को अंतर्मुख होकर सोचने पर विवश करने वाला लेक्चर, क्योंकि सारी एबिलिटी हमारे ही अंदर है और हम कहीं उसको चूक जाते हैं। तो आज बड़ी बहुत ही सुंदर ढंग से शिंदे जी ने उसके ऊपर प्रकाश डाला है और जितने भी सुनने वाले हैं उन सब ने सारी शक्तियां अपने ही अंदर है, बस उसको उसके ऊपर फोकस करने की जरूरत है। धन्यवाद शिंदे सर, हर बहुत अच्छा आपने विवेचन किया है और आज की सभा बहुत अच्छी रही है, उसके लिए माथुर साहब को भी धन्यवाद, आयोजक को। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू, थैंक यू,
थैंक यू लोखंडे जी। अगर किसी ने और कुछ शेयर नहीं करना है तो अब हम लोग क्लोजर की तरफ बढ़ते हैं।
May I say something, please?
Yes.
I'm Jasmine from Blavatsky Lodge, Mumbai. And
Bolliye.
I want to thank Professor Shinde for an outstanding talk. I'm sorry I joined in a little late. I had my Bhagavad Gita class, but whatever I heard was outstanding. Thank you, Professor Shinde. God bless you.
Thank you, Sister Jasmine.
यहाँ पे एक मैं अनाउंसमेंट करना चाहूंगा जैस्मिन जी। इफ यू वांट टू हियर दिस टॉक, हम लोग इसको अपलोड करेंगे। थियोसॉफी दिल्ली हमारा चैनल है, आप यूट्यूब पे देख सकते हैं। हमारे पीछे के भी सारे टॉक मिल जाएंगे शिंदे जी के और भी लोगों के आपको। इफ एनीबडी हु हैव नॉट हर्ड इट कंप्लीटली कैन हियर इट, और इफ ही वांट्स टू हियर इट अगेन they can go to the Theosophy Delhi.
Thank you, sir. I shall do so. Thank you very much.
और किसी ने कुछ शेयर करना है? नहीं तो हम लोग प्रोग्राम को क्लोज करेंगे। नेक्स्ट हमारा प्रोग्राम 31 जुलाई को होगा, बिकॉज 24 जुलाई को Indian section program is there on Guru Purnima. So we have not kept any program, and it is vacant because at this time only the Indian section program is there. So our next program will be on 31st July by Narsingh Thakaria ji, national lecturer, और टॉपिक होगा परमात्मा की विभूति। मैं फिर से बताऊं, 24 जुलाई को हमारा कोई भी टॉक नहीं होगा और 31 जुलाई को नरसिंह ठकरिया जी लेंगे परमात्मा की विभूति। अब हम लोग प्रेयर करते हैं। ओम असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतम गमय सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु न कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ओम शांति।